Prayer 1.
Yes.
That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Agbochu-Uduaghan for 6 months for a total violation of the Senate Standing Rules 2023 as amended for bringing the presiding officer and the entire Nigerian Senate in general to a public opprobrium. Those in support of prayer 1 say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. I'd put the question. Those in support of prayer 1 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The suspension of Senator Natasha over her alleged violation of Nigerian Senate sitting rules has sparked a nationwide debate.
I dismiss Senator Natasha. Please, you are not recognized to speak from there. That is the order of the Senate.
Sir.
Exposing deep fissures in the country's political culture. While some media outlets and journalists have fervently defended her actions,
she was not allowed to be heard before the petition was delivered as well. I mean, what sort of injustice was that?
Others have criticized her for what they perceive as a blatant disregard for institutional norms.
The issue is this. On the 20th of February, this incident took place where Senator Natasha conducted herself in a manner which was unparliamentary. The lack of decorum and, of course, derobed the institution of its ethical integrity.
This controversy has drawn comparison to parliamentary practices in the United States and the United Kingdom, where respect for rules and traditions is sacrosanct. However, the Nigerian context reveals a more complex and troubling narrative, one that raises questions about the rule of law, media responsibility, and the challenges facing youth in politics. Senator Natasha's suspension stems from her refusal to comply with the Senate's sitting arrangement, a decision she defended with provocative rhetoric. In the heated session, she accused Senate President Godswill Akpabio of attempting to silence the voices of Nigerian women by relocating her seat. Her defiance declaration,
"You have deliberately silenced my voice and the voice of the central of this law. You have denied me the right to watch
was met with bold applause and condemnation. On her bid to pressure the leadership of the Senate to uphold her suspension, she approaches the media, talked down at the Senate leaders, adding fuel to the fire. Senator Natasha has publicly accused the Senate President of sexual harassment, including an alleged incident at his residence in Uyo during his birthday celebration. These allegations, now before the courts, have been used to call for Akpabio's recusal from presiding over her case, without understanding that the Senate rule and the sexual harassment cases are different. This approach has raised questions about Senator Natasha's commitment to due process and her strategy for conflict resolution upon the Senate's motion offered prayer 2 for her to apologize. She openly rejected the call with the promise that she wouldn't apologize. Her subsequent decision to report the Nigerian Senate to the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, without addressing her own breach of rules has further complicated the matter. Rather than seeking internal resolution, she opted for an international appeal, a move that many view as an attempt to bypass due process.
But unfortunately, I was silenced and I was suspended. I was suspended for 6 months, amongst many other stringent conditions, such as taking away my security, taking away all the officials, vehicles, and other items that were handed over to me as a senator. My salaries will be cut off.
To fully grasp the gravity of Senator Natasha's action, it is instructive to examine how similar situations are handled in more established democracies. In the United States Senate, sitting arrangements are governed by a blend of tradition, seniority, and party affiliations. While not codified into formal rules, these practices are deeply respected. Violations, though rare, can lead to reprimands, loss of privileges, and significant reputational damage. Similarly, in the UK Parliament, sitting is determined by party whips and the Speaker of the House, with breaches resulting in formal reprimands and potential loss of access to parliamentary facilities. In both systems, the emphasis is on maintaining decorum and respect for institutional norms. Senators and MPs who flout these unwritten rules risk alienating their colleagues and undermining their own credibility. The media house will then make sure she knows that it's pertinent to respect the Senate sitting rule. By contrast, Senator Natasha's action and some media's polarized response highlights a troubling departure from these principles. Instead of fostering accountability, some media outlets have rallied behind her, framing her defiance as a stand against oppression. This narrative, while compelling, risks undermining the rule of law and perpetuating a culture of disorder. Senator Natasha's case underscores the fragility of Nigeria's political institution. The Senate, as a second arm of government, is bound by rules that govern the conduct of its members. Her refusal to comply with these rules and her subsequent invocation of Rule 10 for special privileges raises serious concerns about her respect for institutional authority after breaching Senate sitting's rule. How can Rule 10 be effective in tandem with the sitting violation? The media's role in amplifying her defiance rather than holding her accountable reflects a broader challenge in Nigeria's political culture, the tendency to prioritize sensationalism over substance. The situation is further complicated by the Senate's internal dynamics. Nearly all senators, including female leaders, have declined to support Senator Natasha, isolating her position and highlighting the broader consensus on the importance of adhering to institutional norms. This lack of solidarity suggests that her actions are seen not as a principled stand, but as a breach of protocol and undermines the Senate's authority. Senator Natasha's suspension has also reignited debate about the role of youths in Nigerian politics. As a young leader, inexperienced in the Senate, her actions are seen by some as a reflection of the broader challenges facing the younger generation in government. Critics argue that her defiance reinforces the perception that young politicians lack the maturity and respect for institutional processes necessary for effective leadership. This narrative, if left unchallenged, could perpetuate a cycle of distrust in youth leadership and bolster the argument that the older generation is still better equipped to govern. These incidents also present an opportunity for reflection. If Nigerian youths are to earn the trust and confidence of the nation, they must demonstrate a commitment to the rule of law and institutional integrity. Leadership is not just about ambition. It is about accountability, respect for due process, and the ability to navigate complex political landscapes with grace and integrity. The suspension of Senator Natasha is more than political controversy. It is a litmus test to Nigeria's democratic maturity. The world is watching as this saga unfolds and its implications are far-reaching. Will Nigeria's political institutions rise to the occasion, demonstrating their capacity to enforce rules and maintain order? Or will these incidents further erode public trust in the Senate and its leaders? For Senator Natasha, the path forward lies in balancing our ambition with accountability. For Nigeria, the challenge is to foster a political culture that values respect for institutional norms, while encouraging the active participation of its youth and women in politics. The stakes are high, and the choices made in the coming weeks will shape the future of Nigeria's democracy. As the nation grapples with these questions, one thing is clear: the rule of law must prevail, and the principles of democracy must be upheld, not just in word, but in deed. Remain blessed and be guided.